Hello, I am Quinny. Welcome to the channel. In this video today, guys, we're going to be talking trading strategies. The strategy we're going to be talking about today is having your cake and eating it. Now, there's many people out there that go out there and buy doubles, but for the now, what's going on at the moment, there's a guy absolutely killing it with his double picks. So I thought, who better to come on and join us to talk about having your cake and eating it, doubling up on cards, getting different scarcities, and really backing your decisions. The man that is, the one that only, John Nellis. John, thanks a lot for joining us, buddy.
I'm here to talk today to everyone about how to be lucky. It's better to be lucky than to be good. I've had a few nice ones come off this transfer window, but look, I don't think there was any real mad decision making behind it, but we'll talk about that other than, I suppose, maybe just patience is kind of the key factor in these ones.
Yep.
But look, thanks for having me, Quinny. It's great to see your new setup, the first time recording with me in this new empire. I think that's what did, was it?
Yeah, it's not that big for an empire, but it's getting there. But no, thanks very much, John. For the people at home, what we're basically going to be talking about is those situations that arise on the market for you at any scarcity, maybe all scarcities, where you've found a position that's undervalued or you've found the perfect card to go into your strategy. It might be a backup goalkeeper, might be reinforcements for SO5. And, you know, finding that these really key players, big scorers, valuable potential goalkeepers, or whatever it might be, they're not like buses. They don't come around every day. So when you do find one, rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, sometimes the smartest decision is to go get two of something, maybe pick up three, maybe go get another limited or go get a super rare. John, with that in mind, how have you managed to take advantage of that kind of trading strategy recently?
Well, like a couple of them. So I think a couple of ones you're alluding to. The big one that came off for me this month was Fabian de Keizer, who's the under-23 goalkeeper for Utrecht. He's got a few more years of under-23 and thankfully got a nice clean sheet last week against Rotterdam. But with that one, I picked him up 9 months ago. Not long, I think it was probably mid-boom, almost around March. And, I got his rare for like 60 quid and his super rare probably, there's a funny trade with that super rare, actually. I traded something big. I think I traded Patrick Schick for that back when Patrick Schick was shit. Honestly.
Yeah.
So, but I think like that one was more a case of there's a guy I trust. His name's Tomesi. I think he's a private Twitter, so there's no point in trying to find him. He used to do a bit of scouting for different clubs, and he's heavily sort of in the trenches in Belgian football. But he knew de Keizer. Obviously, he plays in Holland. And he said to me, like, this guy's way too good to be on the bench, and he's young. And I just took his word and went for it. And look, it paid off. I was so close to selling these cards throughout the year, but they were so lowly priced, it didn't make sense to sell with the upside. So I think that one was more a case of luck and circumstance, I think, than any mad rhyme or reason. But there's other trades that maybe make a bit more sense we can get on to.
Yeah, well, the upside on the de Keizer is probably what attracted you to it, because a U23 keeper that is seen by somebody that's got some sort of insight on the situation to be a really high caliber, and we all know the payoff that those goalkeepers can have. Also, you've experienced it firsthand, but goalkeepers are always going to be the most expensive item you get into your team, and unfortunately, the best way to get these guys is to get them when they're not a number one and sit on your hands, but then the situation comes where he pops off, he's getting in the team, he's playing matches, and we all get those big green eyes when we see, oh Jesus, how much are people paying for him now? And then rather than having that conundrum of when do I sell to maybe realise some profits and what's it going to do to me on the SO5 pitch, having that flexibility, you picked up a rare and a super rare, is it helps with that. You can enjoy both sides of it coming good, which is really what we're all trying to do.
Well, like it's been amazing to see. I think though, like what happened with him, I feel, has almost inflated a lot of that under-23 goalkeeper market. I feel there's a lot of conversation around the under-23 market, so I don't feel the same gains can be made there at the minute in terms of 7, 8, 9, 10x.
Yep.
But there still are gains there if you get it right. The issue is a lot of these keepers might take 3 years to play, but my point being, I feel at the minute there's a lot of eyes on that under-23 goalkeeper market. A lot of people know they're going to expire with their under-23 eligibility in 5 or 6 months' time. There's a lot of players who won't be there next season for under-23. Everyone think like if you buy an under-23s in the bench and he plays, he's going to spike in price. Everyone's looking there is basically what I'm saying now. I feel de Keizer was kind of one of the last examples. People will have cards in their gallery they've had for a long time like that were really lowly priced and they'll go through the roof. But in terms of that opportunity now, it's definitely there. Maybe I don't think it's 10x like it was. Maybe it's going to be a 3 or 4x, which is still amazing.
Yep.
But the thing there is, like, for me, that was a very long-term play that came off by chance at the start of this year. There are sort of shorter-term plays. And I mean, if you're on the beat and you're there and you're one of the first people to react to news of any keeper who's under 23 having a chance getting lined up, an injury to the main goalkeeper if they're the backup, anything like that, the shorter term there, I mean, you can just, if you're there, you have the ETH and the balance. And that's why sometimes it's really important. It's something that isn't spoke about a lot. It's like the importance of an ETH balance. If you're there to react to news like that, it can be so profitable. Like, something that I don't do enough of is trading, and kind of in-play trading. And
well, that kind of thing,
everywhere.
That exact thing you're talking about, I managed to do quite recently. I was gathering a bit of ETH for different reasons, and then unfortunately, kind of news coming out from like Japan about Celtic transfers and all that kind of thing. I managed to go and pick up like doublers on pretty much all of those guys. A bunch of Maidas, a bunch of Hitates, Ideguchis. I've got them all on basically all the scarcities, I think, and I could only do that because I had an ETH balance. I said somewhere recently, like, if I didn't have an ETH balance when that happened, I would have been like fire selling Depay and Wirtz and guys like this to make sure I was getting super rares that were coming into Celtic and all that kind of, cause that's kind of what I'm all about, supporting the teams I like and all the rest of it, So thankfully I didn't have to do that because I was, using a bit of an ETH balance and then capitalize, the picks I know, or the picks I know I really wanted back. I've got the ability to then do that. And you, as I say, have the option of enjoying it on having your cake and eating it. You can sell one later for some profit, and you can keep them and you can use them in the meantime and lock out some SO5 results.
With like the likes of De Kaiser, I kind of forgot I had him, and I was coming up to my own little under 23 goalkeeper crisis. Bodart shite, Van de Vert shite, a couple of my under 23. You know what I mean? They're just conceding everywhere. I'm really struggling. Schubert, who was my super rare keeper, dropped, and I was like, okay, well now I can't really play D2, and it just
Safanov
coming back, Safanov on a break.
Yep.
Tough times, man. In the trench, tough times, man. But anyway, but then De Kaiser comes in, who I'd kind of forgot about, and I start getting these offers. And I'm like, oh my god,
it's happened.
It's happened. Like, this guy's coming, he's pulling me out of a hole. Now I can use him in under 23s. It's amazing. But or you could just flip him. I've been offered a good bit of ETH for him, particularly the super rare, but not a chance. Not a chance.
But like what we're saying, that situation you're in, you do have the freedom to entertain these offers now and then explore different strategies, different options, different ways you could maybe move forward and upgrade, With the other guy you've doubled down on recently or having your cake and eating it with was Trent. You went and picked up 2 Trents, and your strategy with that was basically just that U23 defence covered.
Yeah, look, again, I feel imposter syndrome. I feel like that's a proper whale move. Do you know what I mean? But it is. I had the money there to go and get another defender. I was struggling every week. I feel like Biscagli wasn't quite cutting it. He's great for a 50 or 60 score. There's definitely other options out there, but I just felt like in terms of potentially rising in value, in terms of maintaining his value, under 23 eligibility, top team, utility, albeit Trent maybe internationally is overlooked sometimes. I don't know. It just made a lot of sense to me. There was a guy looking to liquidate and get out, and he was selling. Who did I buy off? I bought 3 players. I said, look, if I buy Donnarumma and Trent, will you give me the Palacios, Ezekiel Palacios at Leverkusen? Will you give me the super rare cheap? And he said, okay. So I bought Trent and Donnarumma just below market value. I'd wanted Donnarumma for a while. It was the biggest day of purchasing I've ever had on the platform. So I bought Donnarumma, bought Trent, and I got the super rare very cheap at that time. But I think the logic there with Trent is like, I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's Trent. Do you know what? This is a different conversation if I'm talking about some weird defender from the Eredivisie. It's Trent Alexander-Arnold. There's no real explanation needed. I mean, if you can buy one, get one. If you can't, don't. If you can buy 3, get 3. I mean, his value is safe for some time. I mean, I feel like he's blue chip. He's as blue chip as they come on the platform at the minute.
But in terms of the base strategy that you've rolled out here, you're basically just looking to take decision-making and headaches away from your U23 defence. You've got one guy, he works, he does have some pretty big scores. Why go and find somebody different,
I was
budget aside,
collectability and fucking about too much in the latter stages of 2021, and I kind of just said, it's time to go hard at SO5. I think like Trent is obviously a stupid example because the amount of money we're talking about here, but at all levels of the game, there are those players who you trust and who you could hang your hat on every week. And if you're going to be playing Challenger Europe and All Star, even just to reduce your workload in terms of decision making, in terms of research, if there's a player who you know, who you follow, who plays for your team, or who plays in the country that you speak the language of and you can find the news easily, there's a lot to be said for doubling up, going into Challenger with them, going into All Star. And do you know what? Even going to All Star D3, go into Rare Pro if you want, get 2 or 3 of them. The downside is an injury will cripple you. The upside is it could probably save you a lot of time, headaches, and if they're a good solid player, why overcomplicate it and have 3 different players do the job one guy can do? So I think there definitely is upside to it. But the downside is obviously if an injury or really bad transfer or something worse happens, you're, too much maybe exposure on one player.
I'm with you because, like, the first couple of occasions I done doubling up on different players, I've tried to remember as best I can. But I think the very first time I went doubling up was with Diego Costa. I picked up a rare and a super rare. That was a pure trade move, and a Paulinho, or super rare and a rare. Just thought both of them were a wee bit too cheap, but both of them were real. They really did both kind of backfire for me in the short term. I managed to kind of trade out of both of those positions like pretty decent, but I was trying to kind of overcomplicate it and then move, kind of try and get new faces into the club, get new, new players into the team. Whereas with other guys that I've already had as rares that I went to double up on, that rare to super rare, or even for anyone at home, getting a second limited or going unlimited in a rare combo, whatever. But when I've done it with Larson, Isaka, and Machida, those guys I'd already had an SO5 for like a year. So I really knew what I was getting with them. Now, you can't predict these guys are always going to be world beaters, but I found that doubling up experience very easy to do because I knew what I was buying into already. I knew, like, I'm just going to get another guy that is him. It's not a guy exactly like him. It's not like it is him. I'm just getting another him, and it makes, as you say, that decision-making process a lot easier. But
can I jump in, Quinny?
Go for it.
And this is gonna make you blush a bit, but just let me do it. I want to do it. So I know everyone's listening, and their retention rates are high at this stage in the video. I just want to say, because you won't say it quite as bluntly, I don't think.
Okay.
Quinny has made a big play with his studio. Quinny this is Quinny. He's doing it for himself to have a beautiful career and something he wants to do, but he's doing it for every single person who consumes his content. And Quinny won't be able to do this forever if you don't like this video and retweet it and comment on it. You're taking a big stab in the dark here, Quinny. You're going out full-time SoRare content. And you can ask people nicely. I can ask them a bit more abruptly because it's your content. Just fucking like it. Just fucking share it. And just give it 5 stars. It's as simple as that. Big man Quinny's out here making a play. Just go and support it. There's your day's plug, Quinny. You don't have to do it yourself now.
Cheers, mate. Far too kind, John. You've totally thrown me off, but
they've all dropped off. The retention numbers are gone. Everyone's fucked off now. One, which was a ballsy one, was Araujo. So I won Araujo last week. Ronald Araujo at Barcelona, the centre back. I seen him live there, obviously in December when I went and did the vlog, and he looked really impressive. He really, really did look impressive. I was happy to win him. I was unsure of his sort of price and all. Whenever you have a tier 1 under 23 in your mind, I seen him, I was like, oh, okay, is that what I want? And then I went and looked, and I was surprised at his scores. I didn't think he scored so well. Anyway, I got offers for him, and one of them was like just below what I kind of wanted. And I sort of said, all right, sorry, that's a bit lower than what I wanted. And the manager said, it's all right, look, I'll chance man, I'll wait for the next auction. I went and looked, the next auction was up. I was looking for 0.8, right? And the auction was currently at like 0.65. So where it was sat at 0.65, it meant that if one more person bid and it was one, the price went for like 0.725 or something.
Yep.
So I was sat in this predicament where it was like, am I being a fucking scumbag by going and bidding on that? And the reason I bring this up is because I'm talking about buying an extra Araujo, right? Am I being a scumbag by doing that? Or is that just basic price protection? Bumping up that price a little bit. So you have a thought on this? Basically, I sweated on it all week, and it got to the last day, it got to the last couple of hours of the auction, and I looked and it was still at 0.65, and I thought someone's going to come in and nip this at 0.725. ETH's dropped anyway, and my Araujo that I was trying to sell for 0.8, which was a fair price at the time, based on the market and the scarcity of the card, there's only 30 rares or something. I said, I'm going to bid on this, so I went and stuck like 0.75 on it. And by putting the 0.75 on it, the card inevitably, it ended up going for 0.825. All of a sudden, that's the last thing on SoRare data. If I want to get 0.8, I'll probably get it. And I risked the multi-buy to protect the price.
Yep.
Is that a scumbag move, or is that just fair? I was so torn.
I've definitely been on the
So
receiving
torn.
end.
Oh yeah,
I've
yeah.
definitely been on the receiving end of
I
that
think I
before.
have too.
It's a pain in the ass. But yeah, like I've had that when I've been chasing down like some auctions for maybe some like low print run rares, maybe like before maybe like a year ago or something, just when there was less variety available, or like with some super rares. Some guy, I'm pretty sure it was called like Tony Sports or something like that. But they'd be like, I'd be like trying to get somebody cheap, and he would just always, it was a super rare or two super rares. I'm sure it was like Tony Sports or something. But that's it's an open market, mate. You know, if you're happy to pay the price and carry the lumber for it, then
Mm.
on your head be it. You know, so. But again, like the thing with Arajo is like you get that exposure to somebody new through winning them. You can see the value in the market, and then it opens up a situation. You've seen an auction, and also that whole situation you've just explained. That
The
wouldn't have
story gets
that wouldn't have came to your attention if you never won that Arajo. And imagine you did get him for 0.725 and then maybe somebody else was to sell for so you might have then accidentally opened yourself into a position of
Yep.
two great cards. You know, if he pops off 0.8's nothing, you know, he can go
Yep.
beyond, U23 Barca defender.
At his age, and the thing is, I think you're opening yourself up. The risk is that you own two, and I didn't see that as much risk or
Yeah.
much like downside.
No.
The upside for me was just keeping the price a little higher. I was happy to hold them, and I knew someone was on the market, and I knew I was selling at a fair price. The only part of me that felt a bit scumbaggy was that the minute he said no thanks, I'll wait for the auction. I almost felt like I should honor the Discord message where he sort of said that to me.
Yep.
Do you know? But at the same time, even if he wasn't going to do it, he didn't end up bidding on that. I was like, okay, well, look, I gave a few days. I gave like it was like 3 days after the auction. I gave 2 days. He still hadn't made a bid. So it's like, look, I've given you the opportunity to do it here. Didn't do it. Last couple of hours, and I'm thinking, you might need me interested in looking at this card. I don't want someone else nipping in here and
Yep.
stealing it for 0.725. But anyway, I opened myself up, but the SoRare gods and karma came right around. And how they came right around was that while that auction was taking place, my bid was locked up until the last few seconds when someone bid. I saw an opportunity for a multi-buy, Quinny, and I was about to go balls deep. For the
Nice.
first time, I've decided I want to be more active in trading, particularly in play. I feel there's some really easy flips to be had, and I just don't do it. I think I need to start doing it. So I was watching Roma, and they were playing against, who did they just play and destroy?
Empoli 4-2.
Empoli. They were playing Empoli. Now, I've had Sergio Oliveira for a long time. I mean, a long time.
He's a
I've had
killer.
him for he's just built for the Matrix. But I had him since like whenever he was on fire at Porto, like
I remember you buying him.
2021 season. I had him. So I'm well aware of the guy. I said on my lineup building video this week, I picked him for my lineup, and I was like, this guy's just moved to Roma. He just played 90 minutes as he was off the plane and he's on penalties. He's on set pieces. He's gonna fucking destroy. I should have probably just went with my gut then. I waited. I was watching the match. I think he got a goal or he got an assist or something, and I was like, here he goes. What's he at the market? Went and looked at the market, and for a champion midfielder who has the ability to score like he scores, he was sat around the 0.25 mark, 0.26 mark. And I said to myself, right, let's go. And I don't know if you ever do this where you bid, but your balance doesn't update because you haven't refreshed the page on your phone's app.
Yep.
So I was like, I'm just buying the bottom three. The three on market were 0.26, 0.27, and 0.29. I'm just going to buy them. I'm going to try and sort of sweep the floor, list these at 0.35 and see what happens. And I couldn't buy them. And I just monitored it then. Of course, within the course of that game, those three cards went. And I don't even know if it was those three cards, but three cards sold at 0.35, 0.35, 0.36. And now the bottom of market's 0.37. And like that would have been an easy 0.15 ETH I could have made. And I
Yep.
knew it. And if I hadn't have been a dickhead with the Araujo, I could have multi-bought. I could have flipped. And the opportunity was there and the opportunity was right. I actually still think, and we're not particularly big tippers of players, but I'm not anyway. I'm always afraid someone's going to get burnt, but I still think, just from my own perspective, that 0.37 for Sergio Oliveira and that Roma team playing how he's playing, I think that's an absolute stealing champion.
I agree. I'm a big fan of that move.
I think, he's shown it his first two games, 79, 100, and I know it's a small sort of sample size, but look at his historic scores. He's built for it. he's getting game time. Roma are playing well. I just think like you
Mourinho
look at
loves him.
Parejo's price, you look at any sort of solid midfielder in Champion Europe. But anyway, that's just a wee story because it kind of goes through a couple of different multi-buy scenarios with the Araujo and then Karma coming back around to block me and Oliveira. I think in play something I'd love to do more because I think once you've been on the platform for so long, you can just see the opportunity. Not all the time, you'll get some wrong, but there's sometimes it's just glaring. You look at it and you're like, this is going to happen 100% or 95% this happens. And whenever you don't have the budget to action that, it's sickening.
Yeah, big time.
Like the last time we spoke, on your podcast, I think it was, the player that I mentioned was Far SoRare.
Yes, it was.
And I mean, I was like, I need to just go and buy loads of him. I didn't just go and buy loads of him. I look at SoRare data. The one I did buy was for 0.145,
Oh.
and he's been selling for 0.335 this week. I just just bought 5 of them. There's an ETH in your back pocket.
Bang.
And I think everyone has these inklings and everyone has these ideas. It's just, there's a difference between having the ideas and executing, isn't there?
Yeah, but if I remember what we were talking about with Pershers, it is like, with that situation and with these multi-buys, I feel like they're having your cake and eating it. It is the conviction with it, so like anytime I have done it, the times where I've not had that much conviction and I've just maybe kind of, I'll just buy a Paulinho or I'll just buy a Diego Costa or whatever, it's not always really worked out too great, but the times where it's like, you're the guy that I've been playing in SO5, it's locked in, or like the Pershers, it's like, this guy's just wildly undervalued, So once you get that little feeling that you're like, yeah, I know this will work, I really do, but it's getting yourself over that, buying the first one. Because I done it with Dyson Maeda. I picked up 4 of his limiteds as soon as the link to Celtic came out, and I just went and swept the floor, just went bang, 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 bang. And as soon as I bought the first, I wasn't planning on buying 4. I bought 1, and I was like, oh, good. And then I went and looked at Jota's price, and I'm like, shit. Well, if he becomes the same price as Jota, then I won't want to sell this. I'll want to keep it. So I better go buy some more. And then because I'd already bought the first one, it was 2, 3, 4 rapid just happened, and then I was like, oh. But the first week afterwards, I was like, oh no, why did I do that? Like, I've just put away this amount of ETH into 4 limiteds, that I can't play for 3 months, or whatever it was when I picked them up. But it's just getting yourself over that initial, because I had the same inclination with Kyogo and Jota, and I was like, I don't know how it'll pan out. I'll just get 1 of each and deal with it. But I say, it's just when you get that wee feeling, the feeling to back, but it is just having that courage to just action it, because it can still go wrong no matter how convinced you are it'll go right. And it's that.
It reminds me of entrepreneurs, or do you know, just people with great ideas. We can all sit at home. We all do it. I drive past this spot around the corner from my house. I mean, every 2 days I drive past it, every day even. And I look at it every day and I go if I bought that and I made a coffee shop and I made it really minimalist and beautiful and this and that, I'd cream it. I would just cream it there. And I drive past it every day thinking that. And I'm not going to do that because I don't have the conviction to actually go and contact the landlord and suss out the rent and do this and work out how to run a coffee shop. I'm not going to do it. But there's a guy out there or a girl out there who'll just go, I'm fucking doing that. And they'll go and do it and they'll get the spoils. I have an uncle. He's one of those guys who just does. He's a doer and he just does things. He has businesses and he makes them happen. I'm just not that guy sometimes. And I think with SoRare, it's the same. Everyone looks, and albeit a lot of people don't have the budget to do it, but again, at every price point, there is the option. At Limited, there's the option. If you're on SoRare, there are players there that you can do this with. Everyone does it, but it's a case of actually just putting your balls on the line and taking the risk. It's the risk element, And I think the thing with SoRare as well, compared to maybe other platforms we've been on in the past and stuff, is you're always looking for the utility and you're looking to build out players and you always want the new shiny thing. It's not quite as exciting when you just buy 4 of the same guy. You can't really utilize.
Well, the thing that really brought it back to the front of my attention was when a Baltabor came on, because he was just buying multiples. He was just I'm buying 3 of those supers, I'm buying 5 of those rares, whatever it was he was doing. And it's like that guy is looking for zero maintenance. He's just looking for, that is the U23 defender for every division. That is the goalkeeper for every division. And I then kind of thought to myself, well, is that a viable strategy? With and it's I don't think it is for most people, because it's a bit dull, if you're only going to have 4, not 4, maybe 8 players, but 12 copies of them. Most people will want to get a wee guy they're not too bothered about, take him on a run, flip him. But for guys that are performing in SO5, like a Baltabor at the top end of the super rares and all these kind of places, if those guys want their decision making to be super easy, then there's definitely a value for all of us to take from that, because there is some decisions that you do just want to be, Trent, U23 defence, top and bottom, rare and rare
Yeah.
pro. Don't even think about it. Don't care. Biscaglia, anyone else, Trent, then frees you up to then, let me just double check that midfielder's not suspended, or,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
No, I hear you, and I think like it's such a small thing. But whenever I play FPL already, I will hear if Trent's not going to play
Yeah.
without doing anything, and that's the bonus of these Premiership players, because you like a lot of us probably do it. I mean, I play FPL. I think whenever you have the Premiership players, you're gonna know if they're out,
Yeah.
So it's just the workload's gone with them. But obviously we don't have the Premiership. Another kind of multi-buy I want to throw at you, Quinny, and again, I know I've just have points here because this has been on my mind in the last week or two. Something I've been doing recently
Let's
is
hear it.
I've been stocking up on super rare under 23s who are kind of out of form, out of favour. Or when I say stocking up, I've only actually got like 3 or 4 in the last month. But I'm looking at getting even more. I think with the ETH crash at the minute, a lot of like the Fiat values of these cards are way down, and I have the cash in the bank.
Sorry,
But
John. You told me
what?
last night you bought a Sulemana. I didn't realise it was a super rare.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm over the moon with that. But I
Mate,
think like,
wow.
and look, I know this. Like,
I've got his rare.
the thing is, right? You look at the form he was at just before he went off to AFCON and whatever else. I think they had a bit of a disaster there. But Fiat wise, I just paid €3,500. Like a month ago or something. That was like 1/8. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think then 1/8 for a Sulemana super rare is one side of it. The other side of it for me is my big broader point here is particularly in the now, and this might be old news by the time this podcast or video goes out. I feel like there's so many under 23 super rares who, albeit they're out of form, they aren't nailed in the team. I got the Adila Sheesh, yeah, okay. We've heard Genesis rant and rave about him, but he doesn't really get game time. It's not that again. They're probably going to get relegated and whatever else. But my point is something I've always liked doing, and I don't think a lot of people like that I do it. I like buying the guys that are really cheap because they aren't playing a lot and just waiting. And it's almost like letting them go into the team, because for the 10 super rares I bought like that, I could have bought one Cody Gakpo super rare, and yes, the utility would have been amazing. But do you know what? I actually don't know what's the right answer here. I'm thinking in 2 years' time, the utility you would have got out of that Gakpo and the cards you would have won. What if 7 of the 10 super rares that you buy, because you buy quality under 23 and champion, what if they come to the fore? Are they going to be worth more than the rewards that one card that you could utilize would have won you? Do you know the point I'm trying to make?
I'd think that for me, the what would decide that for me is you can't sell Cody Gakpo 10 times.
Yeah.
10 super rares, 2 of them work out.
Yeah.
You're cool. And then the other 8, they could fill in
That's
special
why I think
weeklies
it's
in America
yeah.
or fucking whatever.
That's why it's important, I think, to buy the quality as well. Because I think like that Kamal Sulemana, we all know he's decent. Adila Sheesh, I think whenever he gets the right team, he matures a little bit. He will be a dominant kind of playmaker who scores well in SO5. Ezekiel Palacios, he's decent all-round scorer when he actually plays, sort of holding midfielder or whatever, I think. But like, it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of these players here that I've bought, and I'm thinking like, I don't know. I love the speculation of it as well, and it's whatever people enjoy. I love the speculation of
Same.
buying these guys and just following them, as opposed to going and here's 5 ETH for one superhero. I'd rather be like, all right, there's 5 ETH. Give me 7 of these guys and let me follow them for a year and a half and let them grow into my D2. Maybe I'm just wrong and it's flawed. It's probably not the meta, but it's fun.
Well, with super rares, that's 100% been my kind of approach with it, because we were chatting about, obviously, I didn't, we're talking about Sulemana. I knew you got Ayush last night. I picked up a Joanne Jordan super rare last night myself. But with the younger super rares I've picked up, all of them, I want them to go and become viable champion Euro cards. For me to get a viable champion Euro starting striker costs X amount of money. That price, what I kind of found in the past, I don't know if this is true at the moment, but like a good a good champ Euro super rare striker would be most of the time more expensive than a good U23 super rare striker. So getting a U23 Super Rare striker from Challenger, like I've done in the past with like Larson, Darwin, Nemeka, whoever else, it's cheaper. I can get U23 utility out of them, and then if and when they do transfer over, which has only happened for Nemeka so far, then I've then got a guy in champion. Just so happens Nemeka's got a wee bit of U23 left, but as far as I'm concerned now, that guy's like the champion super rare, and that is much more fun. I agree, because like watching him at Anderlecht, and where's he going to go in the summer, and then he goes to this team and they're pretty shit, but he's still scoring goals when he's fit. That's part of the fun, you know.
I had the Nemeka Rare. Whenever he went to Wolfsburg, I wasn't that upset, because if you actually looked at their kind of older strikers, like is it Weghorst, and there's another one. Who's the other guy who they have?
Weghorst, Gerhardt, Philip.
Anyway, they
Yeah.
actually do get goals, and I
Yeah.
kind of thought Nemeka, he'll get decisives there. But yeah, I think the risk with it is, and the reason I think I'm trying to look at the champion side, which is maybe flawed, but I think like with the, well, let me try and vocalize this. This is a hard one for me to get out there. So basically, whenever you go challenger and you go under 23,
Yep.
right? I feel like their quality is less proven than if they're at a champion team and they're under 23. Because you'd imagine, if they
I would
haven't been
agree.
snapped up, the chances are, on the law of averages, the guy who's at the champion club is probably better than the guy at the challenger club. Now, that's not always correct, and you'll have the likes of your Cook Miners dick in a league, and then he goes, or you'll have these players, your Nemechis, your Darwin Nunez. The worry with me at challenger is they make the transfer and they bench warm for 2 years. I feel when they're already a champion, I feel like it's going to go one of two ways, and maybe I'm wrong. Whenever they're young and exciting, I feel like they'll either work their way into the first team and they're then playing champion as a super rare under 23. 3 ways. They'll either work their way into the first team,
Yep.
and they're just a first team player for whatever team it might be. Maybe it's not the most glamorous team in the world. Maybe it's Saint Etienne. Who knows? That's one way. They set the world on fire and they get a transfer to a bigger club. Or they bench warm and do fuck all and get fed up and transfer. Maybe go out and loan to Challenger,
Yep.
or something. I feel like maybe it's not rare, but I feel with like hot property, young, really super talents, like really well thought of prospects, it's not often that they'll just bench warm and do nothing for 2 years unless you're an Odegaard or something, and then there's uproar over it. I
Yep.
feel like they'll go out and loan, or they'll get rid of
Yep.
the team. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the logic's flawed.
No, I think you're quite right. Like, because like if you're a champion Euro team in any of the divisions that you care to think of, and you're like a up and coming U23 guy, you are getting minutes. You are like a first team player. Might not be the best, might not be first choice or whatever. But for your career to take a backward step, there's a lot of buyers for could be good champion Euro defenders, midfielders, and strikers in the real world of football all across Europe that are in Challenger. So then you've potentially got somebody that's too small a fish and too big a pond moving in to a pond that's just the right size for him all of a sudden, And when that happens in Challenger, when they move out of Challenger, where are they going to? It's a real dice roll. They could be going to like Shakhtar, they could be going to, MLS, they could go to Asia, they could go to Saudi Arabia, or they could go to like one of these, like they could go to Slovakia, but it's not scored, and it probably is very unlikely to ever be scored or whatever, So that risk with the challenger guy not paying off, his backward step in his career could be oblivion. Whereas with the champion guy, it feels like you're saying, they're starting from like a higher point on the slope. So as they are coming down to try and find their level, you might level out actually somewhere okay, rather than with challenger. You just
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Something I'm also looking at is, and again, trying to vocalize all this mad shit that goes on in my head.
It's hard.
And again, kind of, I do not profess to be an expert in this at all. But whenever you like, I feel with like these super rares as well, something that I'm trying to do now is, because I do feel like most of them are undervalued. Like I got that Adila Sheesh for like 0.65.
Yep.
0.65 for an Adila Sheesh super rare. Like for me, with the price of ETH, that's just stupid. That's I feel like that's really cheap, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm wearing rose tinted glasses because I love Genesis and trust his word, and he's a big Ashish fan. I just feel like over the course of 18 months, that comes good in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it doesn't, but the point being, Adil Ashish, Kamal Suleimana, those two buys, and there might be a few more kind of lined up that I'm looking at.
Nice.
What do they have in common that, and even Ezekiel Palacios and Yari Versharan, my other two that have captained over the last couple of months, what do they have in common that maybe Efrain Alvarez, Arthur Fiat, Nicholas Raskin, and El Hadj don't. What they have is the hype around them, the awareness. And I feel like when I'm buying these now, I'm looking for that profile to have already been built up so that there will be a buyer if things don't go right. There will
Yep.
always be someone willing to speculate on Adil Ashish. There will always be someone willing to speculate on Kamal Suleimana, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I feel like people will be more willing to speculate on them and take the super rare off your hands than the likes of an Arthur Fiat who goes down the drain.
Well,
That's maybe my
I completely agree with the point entirely. You know, you definitely want guys that have a presence in the world of football. You know, whether it be like, you know, cult followings on scout pages. Maybe they're good on Football Manager. Maybe they've got class FIFA cards. Doesn't matter. You know, you need people's. That's the problem I had basically with Sorloth. Is like I had, you know, there's only 4 Sorloth cards on the platform. He's never really done that great since I got him. But whenever I tried to sell that, it was almost impossible, mainly down to the fact that no one had eyes on him. There was only 4 cards. Nobody knew he had a card, really, even if anyone was maybe even a tiny bit interested in getting one. And you want your cards to have eyes. You want there to be people always like, oh, what price is he at now? I've not checked him in a while. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I was going to say something else on that. Yeah, with Tiati, I actually watched at the weekend Verona at home to Bologna, or maybe been away, and Tiati looks like a tiny rugby player. You know, he looks like a really good player. I actually quite liked him. He was playing like kind of left back, but he looks like a little rugby. He's solid, man.
The guy who told me about the Kaiser is the guy who told me about Fiat.
He's good, man.
Yeah, he also told me like around that time I went on this horn, just trusted the guy and it paid off. But I bought like De Kaiser, a guy Lucas Listens, El Hadj, Raskin, Toby Layson, De Kaiser, Theate, a bunch of like kind of young Belgians off his word, and yeah, some of them will come to fruition, some of them haven't yet. But like, yeah, yeah, Theate, he was very highly sought after. He was kind of like a Zeno van Huysden type
Yeah.
hype in Belgium anyway. Obviously Bologna's not the best move, but I mean he's getting there. I suppose he's having to defend a bit there as well. So he has got a score in him. He's put up a couple of decent scores there this season.
But the Bologna defence is really, like, if you look at the Bologna defence, especially the one that played Verona, Tiati at the back, there's a guy called Louis Binks. I used to have his card. He played in MLS last season. He's English. And then they've got a Scottish right back, Aaron Hickey, you know, so they've got like, you know, they're all about getting youth on the pitch to now, Bologna. So I think it's a great club. I know profile wise, you know, they're not going to win the league or fuck all, you know, but at least you know he's going to play because he is good, man. Or he looks to be playing most games anyway for me.
One other kind of thing that I've thought about doing multi-buy, and this maybe isn't quite a multi-buy conversation, Quinny, but it's about kind of the trading and buying out of foreign players, and you could go balls deep on it.
Yeah.
And what made me think of this is that I very nearly did it with Tolisso, but of course I didn't do it, and maybe a New Year's resolution of mine needs to be to pull the trigger. And maybe it is that kind of confirmation bias. Maybe there's a million of these ideas I have that don't come off and I forget about. That could be happening here as well.
I tell myself that all the time as well when I miss one.
But like with Tolisso, for example, I feel like in those really A-star teams, first top tier, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Juventus, the list goes on, PSG, in that caliber of club, there's those kind of creative players who don't start and don't really get game time. But whenever there's an injury and they do get game time, or whenever they throw the toys out of the pram and get a transfer, they're going up in value. If they're under the age of 30, unless they literally sit and bench warm for 4 years, the trade will come off. So like Tolisso I looked at, to be fair, I can't even really remember when it was, but his price was much lower than it was now. He hadn't played in a bit, and I was thinking like, Tolisso, do you know, if something happens there and he gets a bit of game time, his price spikes. And if you actually go and look at his price graph, let me just pull it up there, you'll notice like it does this. It almost like hockey sticks and then goes down whenever he's not playing again, and then it'll hockey stick and it'll go down, and then it'll hockey stick and it'll go down. And I feel like there's players like that. Like I feel Coutinho, I've definitely said on content a few times about picking up a Coutinho super rare. That would have been a good move.
Oh, for sure. I think there only is one, and I think you'll never walk alone. Got it.
That would never have happened. But
yeah,
even just picking up a few rares or something back whenever it made sense.
Maybe with Dembele as well. I don't know how much a Dembele goes for, but yeah. Because that's kind of what I did with the Diego Costa, because it looked like he got his contract expunged by Atletico Madrid, and I got, at the time, his rare and his super rare combined for £100 off of auctions at the time. And that was, he wasn't even that mental cheap either at the time, I don't think. And it was just, it's Diego Costa, as long as he doesn't retire and move to Vegas it will come off. You know, that was just the basic. As long as he actually signs a contract, I'll be fine.
Yeah. No, it's look, there's opportunities everywhere there. I think, like, I don't know off the top of my head, like Rabiot and maybe like Artur, who's at Juventus. And basically what I do sometimes is, like, if you go to the research bar, pick a big team for me, Quinny. Pick a big team. Or even a team that's a tier below that.
I'm going to say Inter Milan.
Inter Milan, that's a lovely team, right? So I type them into SoRare and I go and have a look. Right, who's on the cards here for Inter Milan? Yeah, like Stefano Sensi, for example, right? I mean, and again, look, every time you do this, every club isn't going to have examples, but these kind of really good playmakers who are a decent age. I mean, Stefano Sensi, if you pull up his all-time graph, it doesn't look great because he hasn't played a lot. I don't know if he's been injured or what, Connie, but
yeah, it's went to Inter and not played and been injured and stuff. But you can see right at the back of his graph,
yeah, 5 like dark greens in a row.
What got him the move to Inter?
Yeah, literally. Remember that? I don't know. I feel like with the likes of Sensei, like, I mean, a 0.1, the price of eighth, a couple of £100. God knows what you get a super rare for. People just can't be arsed listening because no one's going to buy. Go until you give one of them 0.3 for it, maybe they'll bite. I mean, I don't think that's a bad long-term punt. Again, we're talking long-term. It could take a season. It could take 2 seasons for that to come off. He gets a move to a sort of slightly lesser club than Inter, and he is the guy.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you have the guy, and you bought him for £200 a year and a half ago. Do you know? But look, that's a luxury whenever you have the balance to play with, and you have the patience, and you have the time.
Or if that's your core strategy.
Or if that's your core strategy. Maybe you want low maintenance. Maybe you just want to buy players and forget, which a lot of people do. Gary V, for example. People do that.
Oh, love it, man. John, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us for this episode. I hope everyone at home has enjoyed it. And all the links to all John's content, the So Far SoRare podcast, his main YouTube channel, Twitter, everything's in the link in the description below. John, thanks a lot for joining us, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No, thanks a million, Quinny. Thanks for having me back. It's great to make my first appearance in the studio. Maybe next time it'll be in person. Who knows?